We will study about the first chapter, electric charges and fields. And in this chapter, first of all, we will study basically about the electrostatics. So what is electrostatics? It is the branch of physics which deals with the charges at rest. So we will study about the properties related with the charge when they are at rest. So first of all, there are two types of charges, positive charge and negative charge. Now the question arises, how charges develops? So the first method for producing the charge is frictional method. How charges develops by friction? If we rub a glass rod, suppose glass rod is there, and if we rub this glass rod with silk, if we rub this glass rod, then what happens? This glass rod attains positive charge and the silk attains negative charge. Now why? Because the electrons from the glass rod transferred from glass rod to silk. So there will be less number of electrons on the glass rod and number of electron increases in the silk, as a result of which the glass rod attains positive charge and on the silk electron number increases, so it becomes negatively charged. On the other hand, if we rub an ebonite rod, suppose ebonite rod is there by fur, then what happens? Electrons from the fur get transferred from the fur to ebonite rod, as a result of which number of electrons on the ebonite rod increases and ebonite rod attains negative charge due to transfer of electrons from fur to ebonite rod. So if this is ebonite rod attains negative charge on rubbing and the fur attains positive charge. Now student, we will study about the second method for production of electric charges, and this method is induction method. How the charges develops by induction method? This is a charged glass rod. As we studied previously, if we rub the glass rod by the silk, then the glass rod attains positive charge. So this is a charged glass rod. It is a metallic sphere and this is a insulating stand. If we brought this glass rod towards the metallic sphere, don't touch the glass rod with the metallic sphere. Only put this glass rod close to the metallic sphere. Now, as you know, metal has free electrons. So these free electrons of the metal tries to move towards the negatively charged glass rod. The free electrons tries to move towards the positively charged glass rod, while the positive charge moves away from the glass rod. So in this way, this surface becomes negative charge and this surface becomes positive charge. Now if we will remove this glass rod, then what happens, students? If we will take out the glass rod, then again the electrons and positively charged will reshuffle, and as a result of which metallic sphere again becomes neutral. There will be no charge. Now if we brought glass rod again towards the metallic sphere, then again this side becomes negative due to the electron move towards the glass rod, and the positive charge again goes away from the glass rod side. Now if we connect this side with the earth, if you will ground this side, then what happens? This surface becomes neutral. That is, you will get this. This is an insulating stand. This side becomes negative, and if you will remove the glass rod, then all the negative charge will reshuffle and the metallic sphere again attains overall negative charge. So in this way the negative charge will be developed on the metallic sphere, and this method is called the induction method. The first property of the charge is like charges always repel each other. Two like charges always repel each other, while unlike charges attracts each other. Here in the first diagram, see, this is the glass rod, charged glass rod, and the charged glass rod will always have a positive charge, while the second is the ebonite rod, charged ebonite rod. If these two charged rods are placed close to each other, as these two charges on both the rods are different, so there will be the force of attraction between the two rods. So this shows that the unlike charges always attracts each other. They will come close towards each other. There will be force of attraction. While in the second diagram, this is a glass rod, this is also a glass rod. Charges on the glass rod are same, positively charged, as we discussed earlier. If the two charged glass rods are placed close to each other, they will feel a force of repulsion between them, and the two glass rods will move away from each other. So this shows that like charges always repel each other. Now the second property of the charge is quantization of electric charge. What is the meaning of quantization of electric charge? Force, the free charge is the integral multiple of basic unit of charge. Free charge, whatever be the charge on any object, is the integral multiple of basic unit of charge of an electron. That is, as per the definition, the total charge Q is always equal to the integral multiple of basic unit of electric charge E. So Q is equals to NE. This is called quantization of charge. Now, what is the meaning of it? How can you explain this? For example, let us consider two atoms. This is atom 1 and this is atom 2. Electrons are here on the orbit. Now, at present, this is atom 1, it is electrically neutral. This is second atom, this is also electrically neutral. Now, if you will transfer a charge from atom 1 to atom 2, Now here, to transfer a charge means you are transferring an electron from atom 1 to atom 2. So what will happen? This atom 2 will have more number of electrons. So this will become negatively charged, while electron will be loses from atom 1. There will be deficit number of electrons, so this atom will be positively charged and this atom will be negatively charged more due to the increase in the electron. So by how much amount the negative charge will be there? How much amount electron is transferring? So how many number of electron transferred from atom 1 to atom 2? Only 1 at present. So the atom 2 will have minus 1 E negatively charged. The total charge on the second atom will be minus 1 E due to the transfer of only 1 electron. And how much is the charge on the first atom? It is positively charged, number one thing. Second thing, so the net will be positive. How much positive? Due to the deficit of 1 electron, 1 E. So if we will transfer 2 electrons from atom 1 to atom 2, how much will be the negative charge on the atom 2? It will be minus 2E. Here, how much is the positive charge on the first atom? It will be plus 2E. So if you can say, if n number of electron transferred from atom 1 to atom 2, so here the charge on the second atom will be minus Ne and charge on the first atom will be plus Ne. So it may be minus Ne or plus Ne. So finally we can use it may be minus or it may be plus. So both are there as per the conditions. If any atom is losing the electron, you will have only positive charge. If an atom is gaining the electron, you will have the negative charge. You can say like this, if 3 electron transferred from atom 1 to atom 2, how much is the total charge on the second atom? First of all, negative. And if 3 electrons are transferring, so minus 3E. Here the value of E will be the charge of 1 electron, which will always 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. It is the charge of 1 electron which is always constant. So if 3 electrons are transferring to the atom 2, so what will be the total charge on the second atom? Plus or minus? It will be minus because electron is transferring to the second. So it is minus 3 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So this is called quantization of electric charge. Students, we will study about Coulomb's law. In this Coulomb's law, this is one property of the charge, that if 2 point charges are there, let Q1 and Q2, these are 2 point charges, and these 2 charges are separated by the distance r. Then what will happen? Mutual force will be exerted between the charges Q1 and Q2. If these 2 charges are like charges, means if both charges are positive or negative, they will feel the force of repulsion, while if two different charges are there, they will feel the force of attraction. So whatever be the force, either it may be the attractive force or repulsive force. So whatever be the force between the two charges depends upon the magnitude of these two charges. How much is the magnitude? Greater be the magnitude of the two charges, then they will exert more force, either attractive force or repulsive force. So it is force is directly proportional to the magnitude of and product of the two charges. And second thing, if we increase the distance between them, the force of attraction or repulsion between the two charges decreases. So we can write it as the force of attraction or repulsion between the two charges is directly proportional to the product of the two charges, Q1 and Q2. Okay, Q1 and Q2, these are the two charges. And second thing, the force of attraction or repulsion between the two charges is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Square because to maintain the formula dimensionally correct. On combining the two equations, we will get F proportional Q1 Q2 upon R square. So this is the Coulomb's law. Now if proportionality sign is removed, then what will happen? F is equals to K is a constant. In place of proportionality sign, Q1 Q2 upon R square. So K is a constant. Now the value of K will be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square. This is the value of K. Now the epsilon naught is called the permittivity of the medium. Permittivity of medium. Now if these two charges are kept in the free space, then we will use epsilon naught. Permittivity of the, because the force of attraction between the two charges first depend upon the magnitude of the two charges. Second thing, it depends upon the distance between them. And third thing, it depends upon the medium also, where the two charges are kept. So here epsilon naught is the permittivity. For the free space, the value of epsilon naught is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12. The value of epsilon naught 10 to the power minus 12 Coulomb square upon Newton meter square. So this is the value of epsilon naught. If we will put the value of epsilon naught over here, put the value of pi 3.14, epsilon naught this value for the free space. So we will get 9 F is equals to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Q1 Q2 upon R square. So this is the value of complete K, 9 into 10 to the power 9. So this is the final expression for the force between the two charges if these two charges are kept in the free space. Now, if the two charges are kept in any medium, then we will use epsilon m. That will be the permittivity of the medium. How can you represent Coulomb's law in vector representation? For example, these are the two charges Q1 and Q2. Q1 and Q2 are the two charges having positive charge on both the charges Q1 and Q2. For example, this is the position vector R1 for the first charge and the position vector of the second charge is R2. Now, then this vector will be R21 having this direction. Now, as both the charges are positively charged, so they will feel the force of repulsion between them. This will be the force on the first charge by the second charge. Let it is F12. F12 is the force on the first charge due to the second charge. This will be the force F21, force on the second charge due to the first charge. Both are in opposite direction. Now, in order to represent Coulomb's law in vector form, F vector, which F vector? F12, for example, force on 1 due to the second vector. It will be K Q1 Q2 upon R12 square and the unit vector R12. This F12 and R12 are in the same direction. Here the vector R12 will be in this direction. So R12 and F12 are in the same direction. Now, if, for example, this charge is negatively charged, so what will be the direction of the force on the first charge? This will be the direction of F12. Now, F12 and R21, both the vectors are in the same direction. So, for the second case, that is Q1 into Q2 will be negative. Then F12 will be, what will be the F12? It is K Q1 Q2 upon R21 vector square and unit vector R21, where R21 and F12 are in the same direction. Now we will study about force between multiple charges, or this is also called principle of superposition. So, if multiple charges are there, for example, this is a coordinate axis and let for that coordinate axis Q1 is the charge here, Q2 is the charge over here, Q3 here, and Qi is the nth charge, any number of charge placed in this position. Now, the force on any charge, if all the charges are at rest, force on any charge, either Q1, Q2, Q3 or any charge. Here we are considering force on the charge Q1. force on the charge q1 due to the second charge, the direction of force will be like this. This will be represented as F12. Force on the first charge due to the second charge. Here, this is the unit, this is the vector representing in the direction of force R12. Now, this is the force on the first charge due to the third charge F13. The vector representing will be R13. For the ith charge, the force will be F1i and the vector will be R1i. So, the force on any charge in the system is the vector sum of all the forces on that charge. So, force on any charge, net force on any charge F is the vector sum of all the forces on that charge. So, here it will be represented as F12 plus F13 and F1i. So, the net force is the vector sum of all the forces. Now, if we will use Coulomb's law for representing F12, it will be K. It is between the charge first and the second. So, this will be represented as Q1 Q2 upon R12 square, and this is the unit vector in the direction of F12 plus F13 K Q1 Q3 upon R13 square, and R13 unit vector will be in the direction of F13 and so on. And for the ith charge, K Q1 Q2 upon R1i square R1i cap. So, taking K and Q1 common, the remaining quantity will be here Q2 upon R12 square and R12 unit vector plus here K Q1 is the common. So, remaining thing will be the Q3 upon R13 square unit vector R13, and for the ith charge Qi upon R1i square R1i cap. So, the final expression will be F is equals to K Q1 common, it is Qi upon R1i cap, where I is equals to 2 to n, because the first number is 2. For the first number I is equals to 2, here it is 2. So, the general expression for the force on any charge in the system of charge will be represented by this expression. This is also called principle of superposition. Now, finally, for the definition, if we write the definition of the principle of superposition, the total force on any charge is due to the number of other charges at rest total force on any charge due to the number of other charges, and condition is that all the charges must be in the rest position, is due to the number of other charges at rest is the vector sum of all the forces on that charge due to the other charges. So the total force on any charge is the vector sum of all the forces by the other charges when the charges are in the rest. So this is the definition of principle of superposition.